7:09. I'd like to call to order the Waukegan Public School Board of Education, November 23rd, 2021, regular scheduled meeting. The board did previously meet in closed session under exception C1, specific personnel, exception C11, threat or actual litigation, and C10, individual student matters. With that, I'd like a roll call.
Mr. Riddle?
Present.
Mr. McBride? Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak? Here. Ms. Leguizamo?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Present.
President Ewing?
Here, we do have all board members present. So with that, I'd like a motion to resume open session.
So moved.
Motion by
second.
Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. We are now in open session. With that, going to go to the Pledge of Allegiance, and I see Mr. Rayon, if you would be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. McIntyre, would you be so kind?
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is the President's report. All right, so again, welcome. I appreciate all those who are here in person and online. Mr. Alajakis did want me to remind the board as well as the public that the only thing preventing everybody from the start of Thanksgiving break is us. And so we thank you all for coming out, as we know that this is a busy time for many, but it also is about how important the work is of this board as well as all those involved. If we want to scroll down, just a reminder of our mission. Educating students for the world of tomorrow is our top priority. And then if we jump down to our vision, Waukegan Community Unit School District 60 is a diverse, world-class educational institution that engages, equips, and empowers all children to be successful change agents in an ever-changing global society. This is our unity of purpose. This is for the Board of Education. This is what we agreed to with our IASB rep. We affirm the unique role of public education whereby each community collectively pulls its resources for the common good through the education of its students. And there are our principles. Next slide. These are our behavioral expectations for the meeting. I start with the common belief that everyone has good intentions. We want to create a safe environment, sincerely listen. We want to solve problems through collaboration. And we will adhere to our board protocols, which we all have copies of. Scroll down. All right, so last Monday, I want to first thank our state representative, Rita Mayfield, who has given Waukegan Public Schools a tremendous opportunity. We went to tour a wraparound center in Peoria Public Schools. At this center, it brings social service agencies all under one roof, and that roof is in a public education school building. It not only does it service the students, but it services the community, which this area specifically is one of the most financially distressed zip codes in all of Illinois. And what happens at this wraparound center is that they have food service providers, legal service providers, counseling services, all types, and it's all under one roof, even the juvenile justice system, to make it easier and convenient for students and the community to get the supports and resources that they need. Because as I always say, what happens in our schools impacts the community, and what happens in our community impacts the public schools. And so there is grant funding that will support this initiative. And so we're early in the conversations, but Ms. Gonzalez, myself, as well as members of the staff, I think 7 of us, including Ms. Tate, Ms. Polk, and Deputy Moulton, and Ms. Dodson, all went to visit. And so it was a tremendous opportunity. It was amazing to see the work that was going on in Peoria, and hopefully we can replicate that here in District 60. And so you'll be hearing about those conversations and receiving progress as going down this journey continues. Next slide. I was able to attend Triple I. I'm not going to go into a bunch because Ms. Hannah has a special presentation for us about it. But I did want to just let the community know that it was amazing to be back in Chicago. There was tons of information and important sessions. I did most of them pertaining to to the board presidency role. And what I can tell you is that everybody is experiencing different levels of stress. It doesn't matter the size of the school district. It doesn't matter what community it's in, white, black, Puerto Rican, or other. Everybody is having challenges, and it's been a very, very difficult time. But the good thing is that there was support and resources and camaraderie. I got some techniques. I gave some techniques, which, believe it or not, there are some things that I believe that we are doing right, and others wanted to adopt as well. So it was an amazing opportunity. Glad to be back in Chicago. It's always a good time, but this year was even more special than normal. And lastly, happy Thanksgiving. I want to thank you all, as I mentioned when I opened, for coming out. Thank you to this Board of Education, as well as all of those educators and staff members in our classrooms for all you do for the students of District 60 and to this community. So I'm proud to serve. I'm thankful for the opportunity. It is an honor. It is a blessing. It is stressful, but it is worth it, and I am grateful. So with that, if we can get back up on the agenda, and I believe first on our list is special recognition and presentations. Ms. Hannah did ask for some time, and so Ms. Hannah, this is your time.
All righty. Thank you, Board President. Hello, everyone. It's good to see all of you, and greetings to those that are watching. People often say, why does the board go to conferences? I'm going to take this time, and because I want to be transparent, and I want to enlighten the public, the staff, and the students. And so I'm going to come down. Testing. Anyway, on this table here, I brought all my little trinkets, giveaways, information, classes, certifications that during my attendance I got. The items you see on the table are from the little giveaways that in the exhibit hall. It's hundreds of vendors, educational vendors, and they have little giveaways because they're trying to make their pitch to solicit school districts, not only our school district, but school districts throughout Illinois. And it's about education. Everything that was in the exhibit hall was educational. And so they had tutoring services, after-school programs, architectural services. There's colleges there. They sell the bleachers, school safety, school security systems. They had this new first aid kit regarding blood-borne pathogens. They even had a vendor for employee screenings, insurance, everything. Anything that is an aspect of education, they're in the exhibit hall. And I have pamphlets on that side of the table that you're welcome to look at. And these are the classes that I attended, setting goals and advocacy, and I'm going to use what I learned there when I go to Washington, D.C. in January, advocating for the Waukegan school districts with the congressmen and people on Capitol Hill with the other state delegate team. The board attended many different sessions. All of it was pertaining to the board work. As Mr. Ewing said, how to set district goals, missions, visions, as they are the framework to devising a strategic plan. I met with Pastor Corey Brooks. I'm sure you all have heard of him. He's the rooftop pastor that he sat there and he was raising money to build a youth center in Chicago. And he was accompanied by one of his success stories, the twin. And I would love to see Pastor Corey Brooks and the twin come to Waukegan and talk with parents, students, because they were talking the language that our students and others could relate to. Anybody, you can take a look at all of the stuff on the table. Even if you want to grab one or two, that's okay too. I attended the delegates conference where we voted on different resolutions that were going to be advanced from the State Board of Education into the Illinois State Legislature. And unfortunately, we didn't. Our resolution that we submitted was voted not to be adopted before it got to the delegates meeting, which I didn't know because I was prepared to do an awesome presentation for them. But I have some hope about that because one of the resolutions from another Illinois school district was that they teach the science of reading to teachers. And I hold the hope that with that going to the legislature and the teaching colleges being made to teach teachers how to teach reading, then I believe that the phonics as a mandate in schools will come next. Anyway, I just wanted to let the public know you also have here, you want to look through and see the type of classes that are offered to board members. This book will tell you all of that. And just like little fun things that you can pick up, for your kids or whatever. But the meetings, I wanted to emphasize that this is well spent dollars. The small amount that the Board of Education uses to go to the conferences. It's a small amount for the professional development that we do receive, and that helps us to come back here, sit up here, and to think about things in a larger way, and to maybe put things together that you weren't thinking about at first. So anyway, that's my spiel. I'm wondering if any of the other board members have anything to say in reference to their experiences at the conference, and if so, you can do it. So now.
I'll elaborate. Ms. Hannah, I appreciate your presentation. It's something over my 3 terms I haven't seen done that way, I think because of the fact that the public knows that we go to these different conferences, but they probably have no idea what we learn from the conferences. And as she said, things that you learn when you sit here and come back, you get a chance to think outside the box, and there's a lot of things that you could be doing that you have no knowledge of, but when you go to the conferences, you learn these things and you bring it back to the district and you share. Just to reiterate, we have a program now called Ombudsman. We have the EPIC program, and none of those programs probably wouldn't even exist in the district. I think me and Ms. Hannah went 1 year to St. Louis, and we found out what they did for kids that was having problems trying to make it in the mainstreams of the population of the schools. Instead of just putting them out, they had alternative programs, and this is where we got these ideas from. But anyway, and even it's called, what is it, a master board member?
Master
You
board
can't
members.
become a master board member unless you go to conferences and acquire those trainings to get there. But anyway, I learned quite a bit myself. I went to a conference that dealt with kids having social emotional issues, and I learned quite a bit in those conferences. Also, another one I went to was in-school and out-of-school suspensions, what we're dealing with right now, how to handle that. And right now, we talk about SB 100, but what I've learned in those conferences, there's other techniques that we can use to deal with our kids with some of the issues that we have in the building. So I'm hoping that going forward, what I've learned, I'll be able to discuss this with the board, and maybe we can help make some changes to overcome some of the issues that we have in our buildings. Thank you.
Anybody else?
One of the suggestions that somebody threw out during one of our meetings was that we should highlight our messages to our parents, students, and everyone by giving them a degree. Like if it's red, it would be a priority. Something's happening right now. You need to look at this. You need to read this. It's important. Yellow would be, this is something you have to respond to. You need to do something, but it's not right this instant. And then green is just informational stuff that doesn't have to, it's for your knowledge, education, but it's not necessarily something you have to respond to or do anything with. But I thought that was something that could be tried out with the board members first, and then see how that works, and then maybe step it up to our students and or parents, so that they know that if they see something red coming over, it's maybe about a lockdown at the school or something that they need to respond to immediately. And then if it's green, it's just information.
Anyone else? I know that one of the things that I also learned is that, and this is a question that I continuously ask when I go to conferences. How are you engaging your parents? And it appears to me the answer from all over the country, the state, it's the same thing. That is the hardest thing to do. And so I don't know what we can do. I know the environment must be welcoming. The school environment must be such that the barriers are removed. I was talking with one of the vendors regarding volunteers going into the school district, and right away he said the background checks is a barrier. He said that fingerprinting is a barrier to parents becoming involved in the schools. And so right now, in my personal opinion, we need to remove barriers that stops parents from getting involved in their students' education. And we need to talk about that. We need to talk about it as a board and administration, but we also need to talk about it as a community. And because we need our parents involved in their students' education. And so, Mr. President, if no other board member has anything to add or anything.
Ms. Hannah, you make a good point about the volunteers and the parents.
Yes.
I don't know if any other board members seen it, but I've seen it. There's a volunteer form that you fill out. It's almost like you, if you looked at that form and had to fill it out, it's almost like you getting ready to sign up, getting ready to fill out for a mortgage or something.
Yes.
That's how strenuous this is, to the point to make you just throw it to the side and say, I can't do all of this.
Right.
But when it should be a simple sheet asking you, do you want to volunteer, in a few other details, but this got about 5 different pages that you got to fill out to be a volunteer in the school.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Thank you, Board President. So, as we know, last time I went to a conference, I came back with 12 takeaways. And I can stay here forever to talk about all the great things and different things that we could implement in our school district, but I'm going to compose that and put that all in a nice big summary here. But I will highlight 2 big main things. When we talk about in the end, we talk about like a big rock, right? So one of the things that we talked about and learned a little bit more is that IASB has a process lined out that we can potentially follow in regards to outlining our new academic plan. So our post-Destination 2022, it was something that I liked the process of that. Board President, we had a small conversation around that, and I think that we should definitely look into the process of what that all looks like so that us, the board, can set the end so that the superintendent and her team can work on the means on that part. So this is part of that performing piece of the board that we'd like to get ourselves into. The second big rock that I captured was there was a guest speaker there that really spoke a lot of words, a lot of great things. I wrote down so many captions from him, but one of the things that really stood out to me was he felt that, I'm trying to quote him, but it said that he felt that he could not afford to have fun because of the fact that he was a student that felt that he needed to prove himself. And a student that proves himself is someone that's like first in line to graduate high school, first generation to go off to college. Just one of those students that are just working so hard to make their families proud and themselves proud. So I feel that there's a lot of those students in our school district, which reminded me of the conversation that Ms. Hannah has started about using the ESSER funds, going straight to the students. And one of my suggestions from the beginning of that conversation was for the school district to fund field trips for our students. And as we talk more into and about, not just talk more, but adding more about mental health in our policies, we have one on our consent agenda today. There was a teacher that had mentioned that if our students was able to take a fun day, a field trip day, that could be used as a mental health day, a mental break. And it also gives them exposure to maybe something that they wouldn't have been exposed to. And it's so many things like that. So just a lot of those great conversations were had. There's a lot of great things out there. So I'm going to go on ahead and finish off with those two. Thank you, Board President.
Thank you, Ms. Leguizamo.
Good, Mr. Riddle.
Mr. Riddle, final
Yeah,
word?
I'm going to keep mine really short. I know there's the attendance at conferences like this is very powerful for all of us as board members. This is an annual conference that we go to as other board members. Thank you so much for your comments. I would just suggest that we each of us attended different sessions. We met with others across the state, picked up some good ideas, and maybe, as Ms. Leguizamo did last year, maybe we could condense those areas that we felt were really important, ideas that we might use in our own district, and we could put those on a Google Docs and maybe share them with each other. That might be a powerful tool for us to use. It is great to see everyone at these conferences all involved in education, which there's nothing more important, education for our young people. They come with a lot of enthusiasm and ideas to make improvements, and that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that every child in our district has the opportunity to learn as many things as they can and really relish a love of learning for the rest of their lives. And as you see every time when we put up our mission statement, this is what we're about. So I'd suggest that we all maybe can put a Google Doc together with some of the highlights.
Moment of levity. Based on my training, that would be a violation of OMA, Mr. Riddle, and that is not what we are advocating, but we will, if you share those information with Mr. Alajakis, he can compile them and share them with the board and the community. So those are the things. It's not just theory, right? A lot of the things are the practical. And so I take trainings on Robert's Rules. I take trainings on conducting the board meetings. And so with that, I won't belabor the point. But thank you to the taxpayers who allow us these opportunities. And thank you to the Board of Education who takes the time. It's because time and time again, a lot of boards don't see the importance of this, where we get commended with the fact that we have 100% participation of our board at ISB. And so that is something that we as a community and a board should be proud of, is because not everybody takes as strong a commitment to ensuring that we are continuously learning. And so that's important.
How many master board members do we have?
3 and
3 master board members?
Yeah, 3 of us.
And all that comes from attending workshops and sessions and the professional development.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. And so next up, we have our opportunity for public comment. Public comment is the opportunity for the public to address the Board of Education. Typically, it's a one-way conversation. You will tell us whatever it is you want to kind of discuss. We do ask that you refrain from mentioning student and staff names in your remarks. If you need translation services will be provided to you, and you will get 6 minutes. There are only 2 names on my list this evening. If you would like to remove your mask while you are at the microphone, that is allowed. And then before you come up, we will ask that you allow for the microphone to be sanitized. With that, the first name on the list is Mr. Ray Vukovic. And Mr. Vukovic, whenever you start speaking, your time will start.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm passing around to all of you a news release dated October 15th from 2019 from the Forest County Potawatomi community. This news release from more than 2 years ago outlines the commitment of the Potawatomi to invest in the Waukegan lakefront and downtown, in addition to building a world-class
gaming facility at Fountain Square. As all of you are aware, Fountain Square is not in the Waukegan School District, so there would be no property taxes paid to District 60. Unlike the other casino bidders, the Potawatomi have pledged to make investments that would clean up environmentally challenged properties and create new tax dollars because this would be in District 60. The downtown development project, as is noted in that press release, would be modeled after the Menominee Valley project in Milwaukee, of which the Potawatomi have been very involved in. As they say, give someone a fish and they will eat today. Teach them to fish and they will eat forever. As you're preparing your property tax levy, wouldn't it be nice to know that there could be some new development that would bring in more tax dollars, but at the same time reducing the tax rate? It's been years since District 60 has really seen the tax base grow substantially from new development. Next Tuesday, the City of Waukegan and Potawatomi will attend a federal mediation session to attempt to resolve a lawsuit. If you like the possibility of redevelopment in the lakefront and downtown areas, in addition to a casino, please call or email the mayor before the next Tuesday and tell her that you support sending the Potawatomi to the gaming board for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vukovic. Next and final name on the list is Rayon Edwards. Mr. Edwards, your time will start as soon as you start speaking.
She's not, but she is supporting it now that it's...
Good evening, board. Happy Thanksgiving to all y'all, because I probably won't see you before then. I came here today to talk about a few things, but as I listened to you guys talk about that conference, just kind of took me somewhere else. Over the last week, I've been out in the community talking to a lot of parents, a lot of kids. You know what I mean? I do it daily. And I sit at home and I think, like, what is it that we are not doing to get the community engaged, involved? What is it we are not doing to get the kids to stop doing a lot of things that they're doing? And what I'm saying to y'all is we've been doing the same thing for how long? It's the same thing. I get the conferences. I get the teachings that you guys are learning. But what are you teaching us? What are you teaching the parents? Y'all, we have to wake up. These babies out here is terrible. And I don't think a lot of y'all get to see it. I don't think a lot of us notice how bad it is in a school district when I can talk to over 60 kids that is scared to be in school because it's a hostile environment. Our school districts are looking like the streets. They are looking like the corner clubs. And we are focused on everything but the safety of these babies. So what I'm asking this board is, aside from having these meetings, and I get it, and I say this respectfully, I know a lot of you guys have jobs, but you're not going to engage the community with these meetings because they're not going to come, as you see. We got to get up and we got to get out there. Sometimes we can't expect them to come to us. Sometimes we got to go to them. And so I cry for those teachers. But the most disturbing thing about me, about all of this for me, y'all, and what don't make a lot of sense to me is we study hiring teachers that kids don't go in our district. If your child is not in our district, how me as a parent can believe that you're doing everything right for my district? If you love my district to say that you do, you would trust my district with your kid. So I'm asking y'all, let's get up off these board chairs and let's get out into these communities. It's a lot of events. I don't care if you show up for 10 minutes, seeing your face is gonna make them comfortable enough to feel like they can talk to you. And I get you busy. But sometimes, y'all, it takes 1 minute to respond to a message, just one. And if we can't make a minute for those parents or those babies, that say a lot to them. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. This concludes our public comment. All right, first up on our list is our consent agenda. These items should be somewhat routine in nature, non-controversial, and previously discussed. Any board member can ask or request that any item be held over for any reason. I will start with that. Is anybody wanting something to be voted on separately?
Yes.
What letter, Ms. Hannah?
Okay, but first, let me say this, Mr. President. I had to go back and look at our committee meeting agenda. And as you just stated, that these items were presented at the meeting, and you are partially correct, except that at the committee meeting, we only heard from A through X. And as I looked at the board docs when it came out, there were another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There were another 10 items that were added to the approval of on the consent agenda, but we had not talked about them, and so I am asking.
Are they controversial? So there are three things that I state.
Oh,
And they should be routine in nature, non-controversial. If you would like those items held over, we can vote on each one separately.
well, I am asking that because they were not, we did not get a proper presentation on the additional items.
They're attached, Ms. Hannah.
Okay,
So we're going to.
we can't talk out of both sides of our
I'm
mouth.
not. So for the sake of time, you're asking for all those items to be held over. I'm not held over, to be voted on separately.
No, I'm asking for them until we get presentations
So I'm trying to
on them.
take one thing at a time. I asked first, were any board members wanting any items to be voted on separately?
Yes.
You've said you wanted those items voted on separately, so what we're going to do is vote on items A through X if you have no objections to those.
No, I have some questions regarding,
Give me the letters, please, so I can pull them
okay,
aside.
the Art Corps, grant.
We talked about
The
that.
E and F, yes, we did talk about it, but as I looked and I read the contract
So
line by
for
line.
time, what I want to do is identify what letters we want held over and voted on separately.
Okay. Actually, it was not the grant, but it was the consulting agreement.
Okay, so we want to hold over items F.
E is also.
I would-
You want the urban-
E and F, but.
They go together. I feel like we can't vote separately on one if they go together,
So we're going to hold over
because they
E
were
and
talked
F.
about together.
E and F, okay. And,
Give me a minute.
LLC,
LLCA, L?
LLCL, I want to vote on that separately. And, there was, okay, and then where's the architectural design? Is that,
The one for Washington Elementary?
there was just the architectural designs for the projects.
Oh,
I just had a question about that.
You got to give me the letter.
I can't,
I don't remember seeing those ones.
that was H, I think. That was the approval of the Capital Improvement Committee recommendations. What's that? Yes. H. Okay.
All right, so I want a motion to approve items A, B, C, D, G, I, J, K, L, I'm sorry, I, J, K, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, and X.
Mr. Riddle, I so move
Y and Z.
that we approve those items that you just
Ms. Hannah
mentioned.
said up to X, so that's what we're
To
gonna do.
X, because-
So we have a motion to approve by Mr. Riddle. Do we have a second?
We only heard.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wozniak. Roll call vote, please.
We gonna vote on it. Let's see.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. All right, now we're going back up to item E.
Okay.
Sorry, motion carries. And I just want to read those for the record. I do apologize, they are lengthy, but bear with me. 10A, learning to A to Z renewal. B, attendance at the National School Board Association and SBA Advocacy Institute 2022. C, attendance at San Diego County Office Education 2022 Equity Conference. D, approval to transition from Naviance to School Links. G, approval of pre-K through 12 College and Career Center at AOEC. I, AOEC and Career Prep Center purchase from Silver Street Inc. Media Technologies. J, approval of 4 culture climate positions at Waukegan High School. K, approval of facility rental waiver request for Panthers FC Soccer. And then we are at M, approval of facility rental waiver request for soccer practice at Clearview. N, and I do apologize, but if we can have no sidebars right now, approval of facility rental waiver request for Dragon Soccer Team. O, approval of abatement 500,000 qualified school construction bonds. P, approval of purchase new computers for operations required for Aruba Wi-Fi. Q, approval of asbestos abatement at Waukegan High School, Washington campus. R, approval of asbestos abatement at Waukegan High School, Washington campus girls locker room. S, approval of foundation repairs at AOEC. T, approval of purchase of water bottle filters.
We only
U,
went as far as this.
approval of mechanical improvements at multiple locations, statement of work number 3. V, approval of purchase lunch tables at Robert Apple Middle School. W, approval of purchase lunch tables at Edith Smith Middle School. And X, approval to purchase lunch tables at Miguel Juarez Middle School. We're now going to go back up to E. Approval of FY 2022 Urban Gateways Consulting Agreement, ArtCorps.
Mr. Riddle. oh, do we have
Wait,
to-
we got to read the
Read that.
recommendation.
Okay, we gotta read
Go ahead,
that.
Superintendent.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the consulting agreement with Urban Gateways in the amount of $27,200 to support the work of the ArtCorps grant.
Mr. Riddle, I so move that we approve the recommendation of the superintendent for the ArtCorps grant.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
I second.
second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions on the motion?
No, I have, I did not have issues with the Urban Gateways contract.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. I have item F, approval of Dr. Joseph Fisher's Education Service Consulting Agreement, ArtCorps grant.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the consulting agreement with Dr. Joseph Fisher Education Services in the amount of $219,832 to support the work of the ArtCorps grant.
Mr. Riddle, I so move that we approve this resolution as presented by the superintendent.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Wozniak. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yes, as I was looking at this ArtCorps contract, there were a few things that caught my attention. And in the contract, they talk about not covered personnel. And I'm wondering if there, and these not covered personnel, they don't have to go through the background checks and the fingerprints and I'm just wondering, how are we doing that? And I could take you to, it is on attachment A, the certification of contractors personnel, and under credentials, none of these people that are going to be working, none of them have any license, certifications, etc. And then the only background checks are for the covered personnel, and there's one such statute in this contract, and it says that the personnel identified directly above are not covered personnel. And I further certify the contractor has taken precautions to impose conditions to ensure that contractor's personnel will not become covered employees. I further certify that the contractor shall maintain these precautions and conditions throughout the time the contract services are provided. I'm not understanding what does this mean? And so if they're it says that they are not covered personnel. And so I just need that explained to me or clarified. What is that talking about?
Kathy, is that a question for you?
I'm trying to find the document at the moment. I believe if that is our standard independent consulting agreement, covered personnel would be those who would have direct contact with students that is unsupervised, that requires the background check to be done under the school code. And if they are non-covered personnel, they wouldn't be having direct contact that's unsupervised with students.
So what
Therefore,
are they going to be
wouldn't-
doing? That was my further question after. Yeah, what are they going to be doing then?
That should be incorporated in an attachment that says scope of service towards the end of the agreement.
Yeah, I looked. I was trying to find out.
So my first question is, based on board agreements, Ms. Hannah, was this asked before the meeting?
Well, I just looked at my board docs last night.
So the reason that we aren't prepared with an answer is nobody else had that question.
Okay, so are we going to hold this over then?
I don't know. Is everybody else prepared to vote?
I'm prepared to vote.
I'm prepared to vote.
So it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any difference
So,
whether the contract is explainable or
So-
not. And you may understand it, okay, and all of that, but
if you would like me to, explain why I'm prepared to vote, Ms. Hannah, I respect you asking the question, and I would love to share with the board what I think about this project, because as you mentioned earlier, sometimes the barriers for people coming into our schools are those licenses and certifications. So this company is what? A weekly artist residency curriculum led by a teaching artist with direct instruction in media art, specifically stop motion at Abbott Middle School, which I don't think that they would be unsupervised, for a period of 8 weeks, impacting up to 120 students at the cost of $5,200. A weekly virtual residency curriculum led by a teaching artist with direct instruction in visual art, specifically puppet making and folktales, at Glen Flora and Greenwood Elementary, over the period of 12 weeks, impacting 275 students at the cost of $22,000. That is what it is. They're at our schools. Our schools are packed with our personnel. They
You're
will not be
absolutely-
unsupervised.
you're absolutely correct.
So I
But
don't think that they
there
need the.
It
Go
has
ahead.
nothing to do with the program. It's
But the
about
certification-
it's about the contract.
Right, but you specifically stated the licenses and certifications. Do we
That was
want them
one
to have a
thing.
license and certification in teaching or in art? I'm confused.
Whatever certification, we have, others that work in the district have to have license and certifications, background checks, And, I mean, we were just talking about that with parents.
So
Getting
is your
background checks.
request that everybody get a background check?
Well, yeah.
Would you like to amend the motion in order to make that recommendation?
Did I make the motion?
You're putting something on the table. Everybody else is saying they're prepared to vote. I want to make sure that you feel heard, Ms. Hannah, so I'm trying to find something that will get you to a yes.
Well, I'm just saying that I think that the contract needs to be looked at and made sure that we're not giving away and we're not going to be, the big word, out of compliance because we've just voted on a contract.
Did Joseph Clary review this contract, Ms. Vanderbroek?
To the best of my knowledge, he did. I did send a text to see if he's available to answer questions. I've not gotten a response back.
So what I'm going to do is, for the sake of time, again, this is why we have the board protocols, is if this was a concern, we could have got the answer prior to this board meeting. And the reason that we have that is because Kathy is now trying to answer the question when she wasn't the one who reviewed this document. And when we know that there are the questions, they can get the answers and they can be prepared to speak to it if they know that there's an issue or concern. And even if you get them the question an hour before this meeting, they will be prepared in order to give a response, or they will let you know that, hey, we haven't thought about that, or this is when we can get it to you.
And I think that on behalf of the public.
So
and
again, but you interrupted me,
transparency,
Ms. Hannah, when I wasn't done talking.
And
So
and you,
again, if the question is asked, this is not directed at this Ms. Hannah, this is any board member, especially if it's going to involve, more than just that's why we have the board agreement. If we aren't going to uphold the board agreement, we shouldn't have a board agreement. So I'm going to come back to this on the agenda. Hopefully, Mr. Clary will be able, once again, I don't want to misspeak. I have no issue with how it's worded. I'm prepared to vote yes. I believe the rest of the majority of the board are, but I am going to allow at least the opportunity for Mr. Clary to respond. With that, we're going to go to, I guess, would you withdraw your motion?
Yes.
So who was the first and the second? I forget.
Yeah.
Rick was the first. Second.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ms. Wozniak, do you withdraw your motion? Yes. Mr. Riddle, do you
Yes.
withdraw your motion?
Yes.
We're going to come back to this later in the meeting, and that was item F. We're now going to item H. Item H is the approval of capital improvement committee recommendations for project design.
and what my question was that are these architectural designs, are they only for these projects, or are they for, are they going to include 214 Washington Street, the tower? And reason I'm asking that is because I had a conversation at the conference with the architect, and he stated to me that the architectural designs for he was working on the architectural designs for the tower. Only tower that I know is the one on the big building. And I just wanted to ask that question.
Go ahead, Deputy Muller.
Do we need to put a motion to? so we can
Correct, yeah,
discuss
we don't
first?
even have a motion or a second.
So I so moved.
Motion by Ms. Leguizamo.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wozniak. We already had the comment. Mr. Moulton.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Board President Ewing, Superintendent, Board members, staff, and community. This agenda item is in regards to the document that is attached to it for those projects listed and recommended by the Capital Improvement Committee and design associated with those items attached.
Only.
Yes, ma'am.
And it does not?
It does not include the property you're referencing. It only includes the projects attached to the agenda item.
Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
President Ewing,
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. We now are at item L, which is the approval of partial facility rental waiver request for Lake County Community Concert Association, LCCCA 2022 concerts. We have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Ms. Leguizamo, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I just want to know, we have been, waivering the rental, facility rental requests for this, Lake County Concert Association, for a while. And now it's covering all of 2022. And my question is, what has this organization benefited the students? And I'm asking for an answer from the administration and not from the board trustees on the committee.
Ms. Gonzalez, are you a board trustee that's on there? And also, you can't, but you
that's why I
can't
said
limit
free
who
concerts.
can
I mean,
comment on the
I
item.
can't afford to go to to buy a ticket to a concert every other week, but if it's free,
Go ahead, Mr.
It's free
Bolton.
to all students from 18 and under,
Go ahead, Deputy Moulton.
accompanied by an adult.
So I was going to say the same thing. So this group does provide free concerts to our children as long as they are accompanied by an adult. The board previously approved the first two concerts for the start of this season. Their season is fall and spring. They have a total of 5 concerts. So these are the remaining 3 on this current season in the spring of 2022.
Mr. Moulton, could you tell me why they keep asking for waivers?
It's not for the whole entire amount, it's just for a portion of it, correct?
That is correct. This is a portion of the amount, and you'll see on your agenda item, it is identified the fees that they are requesting waivers and the fees that they are going to pay the district in full per the facility rental agreement.
And are there any other people that rent the Trapp Auditorium as often as the Lake County Community Concert Association?
So we have several renters of the Trapp Auditorium, but they do a whole season. So they have the 5 events usually, 5 to 6 events, as well as the rehearsals.
Are theirs waived too?
If they request.
So I will say,
Are they waived too, Mr. Moulton?
so any organization that rents our facilities per our policy has the ability to request a facility fee waiver. Some do request it, some do not, and some request partial. The waivers that are requested per our policy, we bring forward to the Board of Education and allow the board to make a determination on their request.
Thank you, Deputy Moulton. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
No.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
President Ewing,
Yes. Motion carries. Item approved. All right, now if we can go down to Y. Here we go. Approval of the purchase of lunch tables at John Lewis Middle School.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the purchase of new lunch tables for John Lewis Middle School. The estimated total is $33,228.40.
Mr. Riddle, I so move that we accept this motion as presented.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions? Roll call vote.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
President Ewing,
Yes. All right. Item 10Z, approval of purchase lunch tables at Jack Benny Middle School.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the purchase of new lunch tables for Jack Benny Middle School. The estimated total is $46,161.
Mr. Riddle, I so move that we approve the motion as read by the superintendent.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions? Roll call.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. Item 10AA, approval of purchase classroom desks and chairs at Little Fort Elementary School.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the purchase of classroom desks and chairs for Little Fort Elementary School. The estimated cost is $140,879.71. This will be taken from the Little Fort's SBB budget.
Mr. Riddle, I so move to
Motion.
approve the motion as presented by the superintendent.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Wozniak. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak?
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes. Item approved,
Now
motion
they-
carries.
Yes, and now the rest of them, Mr. Ewing, we have not heard about these, and I understand that there are attachments, but you want to follow protocol. We hear about them, we ask questions.
Which you have
at
the
committee
opportunity to
meeting.
do.
No, that would be a violation.
No, it's
of
not.
the Open Meetings Act because the community are not hearing my questions or anyone else's questions, and then they're getting a response back, but the public doesn't know anything about it, and we are spending public funds.
Again, Ms. Hannah, asking the question beforehand does not deny you the opportunity to ask it here at the board meeting. What it does is gives the opportunity for the staff to have researched your answer and can provide it to you and the public.
Well, but right, and if they're presenting it for a vote of approval, it shouldn't have to be research.
It's ready, Jen. Do you have any questions on any of these items?
I'd say that they should not be voted on until me as a board member and the public has had a presentation on them. For the sake of transparency.
It's transparent. It's there. That's what I mean. I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to ask for a 5-minute recess. Again, with my training is when the meetings and I feel myself getting tense. I don't want the community to see it blow up because as the board chair, I'm going to just be completely honest. I feel disrespected, and I feel like this is what we talk about when we talk about no surprises and with being a board team. It's because if anybody had an issue with this agenda, it's been there since Sunday. Anybody could have called me, they could have raised their concerns, and they could have asked any questions that they had.
But that's still
again,
not
so motion to
getting-
stand in recess?
I motion.
It's still.
All in
it's still
favor?
not-
Aye.
It's still
Any
not
opposed?
letting the public know.
We got 5 minutes. do a roll call to make sure that we still have a quorum.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Here.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Here.
President Ewing.
Here. So we do have a quorum, and then I'd like a motion to resume open session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second was Ms. Wozniak. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. We're back in open session, and we were at BB, which was the Palo Alto Firewall Renewal, all licensing.
It is recommended that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to renew the Palo Alto Firewall license for 1 year. The total cost is $229,000. This license is for Global Protect VPN, wildfire high availability, threat prevention, URL filtering, premium support protection for both 5260 located at Lincoln Center and Brookside.
Mr. Riddle, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Wozniak. Any comments or questions? Roll call.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
I abstain.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. Item C, field waive yearly renewal payment approval.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve payment for the yearly contract of FileWave MDM software. FileWave is a product that the district uses to remotely push and manage all software and apps for all district iPads and staff devices. The cost of the yearly contractual renewal is $75,120.
Mr. Riddle, I so move. We approve the motion as presented.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Wozniak. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
I abstain.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. Item DD, thought exchange renewal.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the contract renewal with Fulcrum Management Solutions Incorporated, the company that owns Thought Exchange, and Enterprise Discussion Management. The contract term is from November 1st, 2021 through November 30th, 2022. The total cost is $26,460.
Mr. Riddle, I so move that we approve the recommendation as stated.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Wozniak. Any comments or questions on the motion?
I have a question
Go ahead, Ms. Hannah.
regarding the thought exchange. I'm just wondering how come we are paying for this service and why can't our district staff be intra-networking with each other instead of us spending the funds for someone over Zoom to talk to and go into a think tank with our staff? I'm just wondering, why do we have to do that when we have the professionals here to bring everybody together?
Edward, Dr. Cesario, are you ready?
Yes. So thanks for asking that question. So the Thought Exchange has a number of features. Primarily, it's a polling feature. So we can pose a question about an issue, a topic, and it can collect those answers via, you can use the phone, you can use your computer. It's a quick way if you're in a town hall meeting, if you were in a board meeting, or on any topic, to get information from stakeholders and to help collect that, to pose additional questions, and to also it also puts that information into charts and graphs so that you can there's multiple features, but you can ask a single question or a single path of inquiry. You can ask multiple questions to open it up to feedback. There are a number of options. But we reviewed it again, and we thought that it would be a helpful tool in terms of gathering information in an easy-to-use way from stakeholders.
So is this service, is this open for all the staff?
It could be, yeah. So it's a polling feature. I don't know how many licenses we have. That's the thing we have to look at. But we know that the principals had used it. We have used it. Pardon me. Admin has used it to gather information. And so we actually sat down last week and looked at it, reviewed it again, and talked about what we could use it moving forward in the future for some of the upcoming projects and some current projects to get feedback on those.
So this is like a think tank stuff.
It's not necessarily a think tank. EAB is more the think tank, the research partner that we have, where we are, where we can give them some topics and they'll give us research on it, or where they connect us with different districts from across the country on a single topic to discuss that and see what's going on. Thought Exchange is more of, again, like a polling feature. It's a tool that we can use to gather input on a singular path of inquiry, a yes/no, or we can expand it. What are your top 4 reasons for this or concerns regarding that? And then it takes that information, and it not only is it transparent and shows everybody that information, but it can also be used to graph it, so we can see how many people answered and how they answered. So it's a tool that we can use, again, on your phone or on your computer. But one of the reasons we liked it is because in some of the stakeholder meetings we had pre-pandemic, we would use it in the crowd and people could use it on their phone, and we could gather information on different topics in that manner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes?
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item approval motion carries. Item EE, Ready Gen resources to support curriculum maps.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the purchase of Ready Gen resources for Unit 3 to support our curriculum maps for kindergarten through grade 5 in the amount of $158,000, $165.
Mr. Riddle, I so move we approve the motion, the recommended action is read by the superintendent.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Leguizamo. Roll call vote. Or any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. Item FF, text resources for curriculum maps.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the purchase of text resources for Unit 3 to support our curriculum maps for kindergarten through grade 5 in the amount of $16,052.
Mr. Riddle, I move that we accept the recommended action as presented by the superintendent.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Only that I thought that this was a great purchase. As Ms. Gonzalez and I had seen curriculum maps in action and the resources that the children were doing, and I'm glad that we're purchasing these resources ahead of time so the teachers will have them when they get to their 3rd unit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. Anyone else? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes?
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. Next item is GG, Medicine's programming upgrade to JCI.
It It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to approve the Medici's programming upgrade to JCI in the amount of $39,281.99.
Mr. Riddle, I so move. Do we approve the recommended action as read by the superintendent?
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions on the motion?
What is this upgrade, GCI?
Board President, it looks like it explains that the purpose is to enhance our old systems so they'll work with the new hardware that controls our ventilation systems, our new ventilation systems.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. Mr. Moulton.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ewing. That is correct. As we've updated a lot of our systems throughout the district, we want to make sure that we have our server that's capable of connecting all of our mechanical devices so they communicate to us when there are any issues with them.
Thank you.
All right, if there are any other questions, roll call vote.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak?
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. HH Playground for Washington Elementary School.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to approve the purchase of a new playground for Washington Elementary School. The playground will be purchased from Team Rail, an approved cooperative in Illinois, for the sum of $66,699.
Mr. Riddle, I so
as
move.
presented. Oh, sorry.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Quick question, Board President.
Go ahead, Ms. Leguizamo.
Thank you to the team for providing the rendering on this, as this will be replacing the current equipment is what it looks like according to the rendering. I forgot to ask the question, the timeline. When is this expected to be installed?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Leguizamo. So as with a lot of things, we are seeing long lead times for this. So I'm going to say right now 16 to 20 weeks, which is going to put us into the latter part of spring for this equipment and installation. And it is also weather dependent. So once it warms up as well, we're going to be putting this in.
Okay, thank you for that. Those are all my questions, Board President.
Thank you, Ms. Leguizamo. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak?
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. We are not going back to F. We're trying to get in touch with Joe, make sure that we have clarity before we take action, so we will be holding over item F.
So, Board President, just really quick, because the question that is on the platform is on the same contract that we had already approved.
No, sir. No,
Yes, it's on the secondary page, or sorry, the attachment page in regards to the background. It's the same language. So if we're going to hold F over, then E, which has already been approved, is the same question.
Call it again. Bring it back
So,
up.
Can we have?
I guess I'm gonna ask, if this is on hold, if we're gonna hold it, then we're gonna have to hold E, because they're synonymous. Pretty much.
So just, all you do is just ask for reconsideration if you're the prevailing.
Let's get some clarification here, so if we can hold a moment, please.
So, I mean, and I'll just be transparent with Kathy. So we can amend the motion or we can let it stand. I mean, we didn't have concerns when we approved it, and that's one of the issues. We run into this messiness. So we can, I mean, you can recall that everybody had passed unanimously. Every person up here voted for it. So any person can ask for it to be reconsidered.
I make a motion that we reconsider E.
Motion to reconsider. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Leguizamo. So we have a motion to reconsider. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Board President, my only comment would be, couldn't we just pass these motions, pass these particular recommended actions with the caveat that our attorney take a second look at that contract language and make sure it's proper.
That is Kathy's recommendation, but it's up to the board. Our recommendation is that we pass. Well, I don't want to speak for you, Ms. Vanderbrug.
And what is proper? And the proper would be that the background checks would be required for all, or that the language stands as is?
No, I
So
think-
that's what we have to.
What we would do is approve it subject to legal confirmation that licensure is not needed for the staff members and that they don't need background check. If they need that, it would not be approved.
And then,
Or
so
you
that
hold
would
it over.
already, and then you would have then legal team would have the final say that the contracts would not be approved. But
no,
however,
if-
we need these two programs to be eligible and to maintain the ARC Core grant.
I understand that, but I cannot answer at this point in time whether
Okay.
the staff need to have a license or not. I can, with 90% confidence, say they don't need the background check, given the description in F. I did not review E. They will not be working directly with children, those in F. And I have not looked at E in particular. Those would have both been reviewed by Mr. Clary. But I cannot answer the licensing question at this time.
Okay, and then the licensing question is only under F and not under E, but the background check question is under both. And then, so you are assured that we are okay on the background check language?
I would have to look
Okay.
at what E is about.
Again, we're putting our attorney on, and that's what
Yeah.
she's saying. She
I-
hasn't had time to look
Yep.
at it because she wasn't made abreast of it. And the individual who reviewed them, unfortunately, is probably in transit, right? So, again,
So then I'd recommend that we do hold it over.
Okay.
Or reconsider it.
so we have right now a motion to reconsider. We got a first and a second. Mr. Riddle did say that we could approve it. I'm more so to side with Ms. Leguizamo's because now it's messy. And I would rather just do it clean. But my question before I take that is, Deputy Cesario, I apologize, but is there any issues with holding over as far as when we talk about timeline?
As far as I know, no, I can't, I've tried to contact Jason, he is on a plane right now.
Deputy Cesario, have we worked with this organization previously where the board has approved it?
We have, and we've worked with other organizations where we contract out and they won't have teaching licenses, and this is, some of what we do is having an instructor there that does have a certificate, present in the classroom while they're getting instruction in art, dance, and drama, especially dance, and I believe this was their, I'm sorry. What I was saying was that we have worked with other organizations where it's hard to staff art positions, dance positions, and we make sure that there is a certified teacher present during that time. And we have worked with this group before. I believe their former name was American Bayala.
Yeah, America Baila.
Yes. So, yes.
No, Dr. Cesario, it has nothing to do with the program. I'm talking about the background checks. Everyone that comes in and works with our children are supposed to have background checks. Everyone. And that was one of the issues we were talking about earlier today with the involvement of parents. We have to give them background checks.
Yes. So I was only referring to the certification piece. Regarding the background checks, I don't want to make an assumption if we don't know yet. So I'll defer to Kathy on that one.
I think we've had discussion if you'd want to put it to vote.
Yeah, so right now we had a motion to reconsider and hold over. I'm going to take the vote and kind of see where everybody lays. Again, I don't want the message to be this organization is coming in without background checks.
But it is.
You are assuming that's what it means, but your legal counsel is saying, let us review, and that's not kind of what it says. Is if I work for an organization and I'm in HR and I'll never step foot inside of Waukegan Public Schools, would I need to go through a background check? And again, now we're speculating, and I go back to, if we ask questions beforehand, because Ms. Hannah, your expertise is appreciated. And when that's
I
caught,
don't think so.
when it's caught, if it was beforehand, this would all be cleared up. So I just want to remind all the board members, again, that's why it's important to ask the question before the board meeting.
It's a violation of open meeting.
It's not. Any board member can ask staff members a question. That's why we can't say these things that aren't verifiable or true. Is you can ask any question to any staff member, and we all often do. As long as you're not including the entire board, it is not a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Can I ask a question? I'd just like to ask Mr. Figueroa, I know you listen to everything that's going on. Could you help us out with this?
We normally conduct background check for all visitors, including staff that might render services. For example, we have Ravinia musicians who do fine arts, who come to different schools. Either they have to assure us that they have background checks in normally institutions that provide services in school settings understand that that will be a requirement of the district because it is included in the state law. So in the absence of that reassurance, the proper protocol will be to channel those individuals to HR. We will conduct a full background check at the cost of the institution.
And I think the key words here is that will be servicing in the school setting. So I think that we should definitely allow our legal department to go back and clarify, provide us the information that we're looking to get some clarification on. And then as we know that there isn't a time constraint on this, I think that we all have an understanding that we just need to give our legal counsel some time to work on this.
Can I say a comment? Or Superintendent, you want to say a comment?
I'm not going to make it more messy. I'm just going to leave it alone. But
Well, I'll be the messy one then, because if you are an organization and you're working with kids, your organization likely has a policy that requires a background check anyway. And, I just really want to get back to a message that I know Ms. Hannah has championed. I know a lot of us as board members champion. Reading is so important because reading is about building trust. It's about giving people the time and attention that you want to give to their program, their outlines. If we look at the Urban Gateways attachment, their policy and procedure requires, this was an example with Chicago Public Schools, but it says Urban Gateways requires all artists to adhere to the CPS background check policies for student safety, the CPS COVID vaccination policy, and mandated reporting training under Illinois law, background check results, etc., and mandated reporter certificates. So, maybe I'm naive here and thinking that an organization like this would already require this of their employees, but if that's the advice of our council, I will vote in favor of holding it back until Kathy can review it.
I would ask that you give us time to do that, please.
Everybody's piping in here. If you look in the master agreement for professional services, which is part of this, it speaks about that WPS shall, these people are required. Let me go back to the agreement. I've moved off the section now, but it said that WPS may require them all to have background checks. It's right in there. Contract shall have, so it does. But again, we don't have legal counsel here that reviewed all this contract. So if you guys want to hold it over, that's.
Again,
I'm not
had they known that there was an issue, they would have. So I go back to I have full faith in Mr. Clary. If Mr. Clary reviewed this document, he's never stirred us astray. He's always fought on behalf of Waukegan Public Schools, and he has been a very, very important resource for this Board of Education. And so I'm not questioning Mr. Clary and how thoroughly he reviews any of our agreements. And I know that's something that he would consider. And I go back to, again, a lot of this can be avoided with asking questions before the meeting. And with that,
So
Roll
hasn't this
call.
program already started?
It's currently in our school district.
Yeah.
I mean,
The start date was October 21st,
The provisions section outstanding.
and it ends December 16th.
Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and hold it over.
Okay.
So, well, we're going to take the vote. I guess it'll be up to the board.
Certification, no. it's background
Roll
check.
call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle? Mr. McBride?
Just a minute, I didn't say anything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're
Just to
voting
be
to
sure.
withhold,
Hold it over.
hold over the first one, right? Or undo the first
E.
E.
A vote to reconsider and hold over.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak?
No.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
No.
And President Ewing?
Yes, we'll hold it over and get that clarity, which can be emailed to the board, Ms. Vanderbilt. And then we will be
can do that.
prepared to act on these items at our next regularly scheduled board meeting. With that, if we can go down on the agenda. We are at Personnel 12A, approval of personnel for, can't see it, 11/23/21.
It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the administration's recommendation to approve appointments and accept the resignations as found on schedules F969 and L916.
Mr. Riddle, I so move that we approve the motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions?
Yes, and I guess I'm just doing this under personnel because we were told that it wasn't closed session.
So can we vote on the item that's on the floor?
Well, isn't that I'm talking about personnel.
We have to approve item 12A.
Or you could put it under new business too.
Mhm.
Or old business. Either way.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak?
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. And same thing, so with the question, I'm gonna ask that you either hold that for board member time, Ms. Hannah, or you can
it'll
do it
be
under
under-
new business.
Mm-hmm.
Does she want to recognize an admin?
Next
No,
up.
no, that's not it. Sorry.
15A, ratification of the second processing board bills for November 2021, and manual check request payments and First Midwest insurance payments for the period of November 3rd, 2021 through November 16th, 2021.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education ratify the second processing of board bills for November 2021 and manual check request payments and First Midwest insurance payment for the period of November 3rd, 2021 through November 16th, 2021. The accounts payable board November 3rd, 2021 through November 16th, 2021. Payments total $2,168,994.32. The manual check request payments for the period of November 3rd, 2021 through November 16th, 2021 total $1,228,592.68. The First Midwest insurance payments for the period of November 3rd, 2021 through November 16th, 2021 total $1,252,591.50.
Mr. Riddle, I so move that we approve the recommended action as presented by the superintendent.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak?
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. Unless it's very, very pressing due to time, I'm gonna ask that we hold committee reports. So then we're gonna go to item 16B, our student board member report.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So today this one thing that I just want to talk, the first thing I guess I'm going to talk about. Stand up. Yes. All right. So this one thing, the first thing that I want to talk about, I kind of thought about this, and this was kind of brought up from some of my peers actually. So for the first thing is money. So when it comes to money, I believe that, just in general, the student board member, me and future student board members, I feel like they should have an input, especially when it concerns students, programs, curriculum, activities, whether it's changing something inside the school, whatever it concerns students, I think that it should be brought up, or at least the student board member should get a say in it, or it should be asked like, hey, what do you think of this? Hey, do you need time to ask students what they think of this? Because yes, at the end of you board members, administrators, you guys are all bringing these programs and these things to the board, and you guys approve this, but at the end of the day, the students go through this, the students participate in this, they're going to be affected by it currently and in the future. So that is just something that I don't know, I just kind of thought of, and some people were saying, where's this money going? What's happening with it? Like things like that is what I've heard from peers of mine. So that's just something that I would, I guess, recommend, for even before my term ends, if anything like that is happening, or for the next student board member as well. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, I know I haven't mentioned this in a while, but it was a study hall. And I'm hoping that study hall has been talked about, hopefully. And not only study hall, but also I did mention AP macro and AP microeconomics, the two different type of economic classes, AP level. I hope those two have at least been thought about, if not been talked about. And I am personally requesting that if an update can happen for those things, because they are because if those things are possible for future students, our discussion can happen with me. To talk about those things like, hey, this can't happen, hey, this can happen, but we need this, what do you think, etc. So, when it comes to curriculum, obviously, like, I'm open, talk to me, administrators, whoever is in charge of that, I don't know exactly. And then lastly, this has been something that a lot of students have brought to me, probably because, they don't want it, but it's something that I've been told about probably the past 2 weeks, and it's something called finals. So finals obviously is something that is stressful for me, for seniors, juniors, high school students in general. For some, it may be more stressful than others, while others may not care. But after hearing, different options and different, opinions, people have said these two specific ones the most. The first option is, honestly, this is what they have said, canceling finals. Reasoning is because, one, we have not had finals in 2 years, and having finals now can be either like a hit or miss. They have to kind of we're all readapting, from the pandemic, and having finals will not only add more stress, but it will cause students to, in a sense, go crazy about trying to get their grades up, making sure they keep that A, making sure they don't fail, and that final either may help them or it may be really bad for them. And I know an argument that honestly I thought about, because when people present these things to me, I always think about, okay, but what can be the argument to these things? And the argument that I thought of was, oh, we haven't had finals for 2 years, then when are we going to have finals? So I thought about that. And the other thing was kind of like arguing back, I guess, was that because we did come from a pandemic and that we are still adjusting, maybe this year it could be canceled if that is a possibility. And then starting from next year, kind of continues on while students are back in the flow where we have readjusted, and that, we basically have we have adjusted to the classrooms, we've adjusted to the environment, we're ready for finals, we're ready to learn more, and we have that motivation. The second option was having finals as optional. So this can be something that is left up to the teachers, but having optional meaning that, for example, if I was to earn an A, a B, or even a C in the class, the teacher can make it so that you don't have to take the final, and it is optional. So obviously it can still affect your grade. But if you do have like a D or an F, you do have to take the final, as that can help you raise your grade so you don't fail that class. This would be based off of the teacher and what they decide to do, or that can be something discussed or talked about even further. But those are the two things basically that I have heard from students, and what they think about finals, and obviously in a stressful time and in a time we are readjusting back in the school environment. But that is all I have today, so thank you.
Thank you,
Can I
Ms.
ask a quick question to our student board member? Just a quick question.
Yes.
So Assam, as you talked about, cancel finals, right? I was wondering, because I'm always thinking about, you know how that goes. But you think your student population would be interested in something like a project-based finals versus like I'm gonna sit and test like for this day kind of thing? Instead, do like a project that you have time to do and can show that you have learned what was needed to learn. Just kind of getting your feedback on that.
Yeah, so I actually was going to mention this, but I totally forgot. So I had talked to a teacher, and this teacher had told me how, for students specifically that are deciding to go into college, they're going to have finals. So if we don't have finals in high school, then we're not going to have that ability to know how finals feel like, and have the experience of finals, especially for those kids that are going into college. But the thing with that too, which I actually agree, is that usually finals, they are kind of multiple choice. Just sit there for I think it's an hour and a half, and just look at different essays or different paragraphs, read them, solve math problems or whatever the case is. While I know that in college, and even some teachers now, I believe at high school, they are making finals, a different thing rather than multiple choice. I know that for college prep writing, I believe that we're going to work on an essay, and that's going to be considered our final. So it's a possibility we may not even come in for a final, and we just have to turn in that essay before the deadline, and that will be considered as our final. I know that other teachers have, virtual year. I remember, I think my Spanish teacher, he had done a final as an optional thing, and he had done it as a project. So I think that even in college, I believe that finals are not all multiple choice. Some are essays, some are projects as well. So I think that is definitely an option for teachers to consider. I don't know honestly how that works, if that's 100% up to the teacher. Yeah, that's what kind of is going through my head. Yeah.
Thank you for that feedback. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And I guess Superintendent, who will be following up with Mr. Husani and his concerns related to the classes.
We'll reach out to him.
Yes. All right.
No delegates reports.
And no superintendent's report today, correct?
Yep.
No.
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
All right, we are at old business, which we only have one old business item, which is the policy attendance second reading.
Are we voting on it yet?
No, it's discussion.
Oh, okay.
This is up for discussion at the request of Mrs. Hannah. Some changes she has proposed that she'd like the board to consider.
Yes, and one of those, I know that, go ahead. Okay, I too am considering something that I spoke with the student board member about, and that was with the mental health days. And it is, it has been inserted into the policy. Today is not the day for it to be voted on, to be approved or not approved, but we are discussing it, okay? And I thought it was a very good, suggestion from Mr. Isam, because just as adults need their personal days and MH days, mental health days, so does the students. And I think that to insert this into the policy, the attendance policy, it would be beneficial to the students and if Mr. Isam, help me out here because you asked for 8 days.
Yeah. So this was something that I think I had mentioned months ago, honestly, about mental health, and these mental health days are for students. I did talk with peers about it as well, and some were saying different numbers. Oh, give us this many, but obviously that's not reasonable. So the one that I had come to terms with was 8 days, and that would be for the whole year, and it would mean that it's not 4 per semester. It would just be 8 throughout the whole year. Students can use it however they would like, because I know that sometimes one day may not be enough, and that person may need to take 2 in a row, but that would be the cap for it, meaning you can't take 3 in a row, you can only take 2 in a row, and then after that, come back to school, you get your rest, talk to your teachers about what work you need to make up, etc. And then the other thing that was brought up when taking these mental health days was that if students are allowed to call in. This is because a lot of students' parents, and I hope I'm not being disrespectful in any way, but a lot of students' parents do not believe in mental health. They say just go to school, you have to do your homework, you have to go to classes. So parents won't even allow it, and that can affect students' mental health even worse, maybe in a bad way. So allowing students to be able to call in, I think that would be a good thing. And if that's possible, when they are calling in, they have that option. If that's pressing a specific number on the phone, saying like, oh, I am a student, and the only option after that is, oh, you're calling for a mental health day, etc., or whatever it may be, however that system may work. But that was just the other thing. But other than that, nothing else comes to mind currently, but that's what it would be, yes.
Thank you. And also, with that policy, there was a provision in there that because of the attendance, because of if a student had an attendance problem, that it talked about putting them in alternative placement, and also to look at the possibility of special education for the students. And I asked that to be totally taken out of the policy. It should not even be a consideration for a student to be put in alternative placement or to have special education evaluation considered for attendance. I think that we have enough resources, mentorships, that sort of thing, for where we shouldn't have to put that type of thing in our policy.
So I have a few comments on this one here as we're adding this up for discussion. And this is strictly to the policy 6010 for the attendance and excuses, right? And what we have in the second reading is to add on 8 mental health days for excusable absences. As much as I would love for students to just have the ability to call in their mental health without their parents, I see where student board member is talking about. However, if another adult in their life is not aware of their mental health issues, then they're not probably going to get the resources and the tools that they need in order to take full advantage of that mental health day, right? And our youth are very young. I knew when I was that young, I didn't know how I needed to address how I was feeling in various types of times. And mental health is really a big issue. So I do agree with the fact the way that the policy is written right now, where it would ask for a parent to call that in. That's my opinion on that matter, as I know that we're having this discussion on this policy. But I do agree with having that. But, aside from a lot of that, when I work on standard operating procedures at my job, that I'm making decisions for the company, I also have to go down to the people in the trenches and verify if this can be implemented, and if it can be, how long does it take for us to be up and running? So that's the other thing that I would like to see, a potential timeline when this could be up and running, as we're setting the end. So that's just my comments. I have a lot more. I'll leave it up for more discussion.
Yeah, I'd like the board to know that the administration is going to come back with a recommendation on this. We're vetting this right now to see when any liabilities or how this will affect us. We are not ready to speak on this today, but at the next discussion, we will be taking a stance on the changes of this policy.
Even the one with the special education, that one too?
Whichever policies are up for reading today, yes.
That one I don't think is on.
No, it's in attendance.
I would say to the board and the administration, as you consider the removal of reference for special ed services, we do have to consider that non-attending students could be a child find issue under special ed laws. We may want to rephrase that particular line rather than say consider special ed placement if eligible. You could consider rephrasing that to referral for special ed screening, for example. So I would ask that everybody consider that with regard to the special ed removal in particular.
And saying, we know that attendance is a direct correlation to student success outcomes. And so when we're saying to look at alternative placement, a lot of times if you have a student who is significantly truant, there's typically a correlation between that and their grades. And so if you have a situation in which you have a student who is chronically truant and it is jeopardizing them from finishing high school, I wouldn't want a way to take away that option. I don't think it should just be because you are truant that you should be placed in placement, but if there are correlations, and we know that there is a correlation between attendance and student outcomes. So again, I'll wait to hear what the recommendation is, but like Ms. Vanderbroek is saying, is I wouldn't just strike it completely. Maybe we can rephrase it to make more clear what it is that we're stating. But again, there's a correlation between attendance and student outcomes. And so if you have a student who is chronically truant and alternative placement would allow them to finish the education or beat out whatever issues that were making them chronically truant, similar to what AOEC would do, I think that is a proactive way to address it. So look forward to the administration's recommendation, and do understand and agree with Ms. Sanders' heart on this issue is how do we rephrase it so it doesn't seem that if they don't show up that we'll automatically outsource them and or refer them for special ed services. Mr. Riddle.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask our general counsel here regarding the first reading. I noticed that, excused absences, we had previously just had 1A for illness, and then it said you had added, or someone added, for reasons of physical or mental health. Was that not, mental health part had to be added because of recommendations from the legislature or from ISB?
So from my perspective, when we had just illness, that
Yes.
would have included physical or mental health before the statute was amended. The statute was amended to allow to make it very clear that kids could take off if parents had called them in due to a mental health reason.
Yes.
When discussed with Mrs. Hannah, she requested that the social emotional stress days is kind of the phrase I kind of use in my head to differentiate from an official mental health diagnosis. So that's that was requested to be brought forward for discussion to the board in that manner.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so we'll await continued conversations and look for an administrative recommendation. Ms. Hannah had a new business item she wanted to introduce, and after that, I am going to adjourn as it is 9:11. Unless you have any legal reports, Ms. Vanderbroek. Go ahead, Ms. Hannah.
Okay, I asked and about how many of our classrooms are being staffed by subs, how many classes have been split due to no subs, and if we have, what are the plans so that we can get in front of this before it, because we don't want it to become worse, but is there a plan? Do we have, how many online remote teachers do we have?
And so due to time, Superintendent, can you come back and present on that during student achievement, if that is the will of the board to have that information at our next board meeting?
Yes, or I could just send it out electronically also.
Let's send it out and then plan to present it to the public, at least as an information attachment.
No problem.
All right, with that, I'd like for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Riddle, second by Ms. Wozniak. Any comments or questions?
Have a
All
happy
in-
Thanksgiving.
All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a
Happy
good night.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.